Hello, my name is Hoyt Jolly, and this is my game Boxcars. It's a card game similar to Rummy and Solitaire. You can play it by yourself or you can play it with other players, and the object of this game is to try to score as many points as you can by building groups using your cards or the opponent's cards. And so let's get started. So to begin with, each player is dealt out the deck of cards. Each player gets half the cards, and they each draw 5 cards into their hand. And from there, they can play individual cards into the play area, which is shared between the two players, and use those cards to try to build groups. So, looking at my cards, I've got a 5 and a 6 and a 7, and they could be played into a group because groups have to be arranged so that their ranks count upwards towards the right. So I can put a 5 here, a 6 here, and a 7 here, and that forms a nice little group of cards. And I score some points here. Each one of the cards gets a point value assigned to it based on its neighbors. So if a card is near a card of the same suit, it gets 5 points for that. If it's next to a card with the same color, it gets 2 points for that. And if it's next to any other card, it gets 1. So this 6 gets 2 points because it's beside 2 cards of a different suit and color. And these cards, 5 and 7, get 1 because they are next to the 6. Okay, I can also pull this 4 out, and you'll notice that increases the value of the 5, and 4 only gets 1. Alright, now you can also play single cards by themselves, but anytime you play a single, you lose ownership of that card, and the other player can grab it and use it in their groups if they want to. So you can make groups by arranging cards in the play area in order to combine them to build bigger groups. But once a group is made, it cannot be subdivided. It must always be moved around and played as a group. Groups can be between 2 and 13 cards. Once a group reaches 13 cards, it cannot grow anymore. And the values on the edges wrap around to form a wraparound ring. So in a group of 13, these edge cards would add points to each other's value. Okay, so by those rules, each card can have a maximum value of 10, and each group can have a maximum value of 130. Now, you can play your cards off of your opponent's cards, so the point values for some groups can be shared. And you also have to be aware with your play whether or not you're going to be helping yourself or your opponent more. So we also have jokers in the game. Jokers down here can represent any value that they're placed next to in sequence. I'll show you how that works on the next turn as I take over player 2. So I can grab this. You'll notice that the jack here lost its ownership. It's got a gray border now. But I can claim that as player 2 by moving this 10 next to it. Oops, wrong side. Goes on this side. Okay, now player 2 owns this jack, and they both get 5 points because the jack and the 10 both have the same suit. So the jack gives the 10 5 points, and the 10 gives the jack 5. Or you could say the jack gets 5 points because it's beside one other card of the same suit. Alright, we can, let's see what else we can do on this turn. Let's go ahead and play with the joker. Alright, I can take this joker and I can put it over here off of this 7. And now the joker becomes an 8, which means that we can play a 9 off of this side if we want to. We could also move the group, or a group with a 7, or sorry, a group with a 9 into it to combine the group. So we'll see if we can do something like that later. Alright, I'm going to end player 2's turn, and we're going to start with player 1. It doesn't look like we have a lot we can do here because we don't have anything that matches anything really. So I'll just play a couple of these out as singles. Now, strategy-wise, I do risk losing these to my opponent, but at the same time, a player loses 5 points at the end of the game for every card they have in their hand or in their deck. So you have to balance your strategy between giving cards away to your opponent and having too many cards on your side at the end. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to end my turn, and let's see what we can do as player 2. Alright, so player 2 has a 2. We can play that off of one of these aces. and grab that. Now they both get a value of 1 for their neighbors. And we can also, let's see if we can do a replacement. Now replacement is a new idea. If you have a card in your hand that matches a rank on of a card on the board, you can potentially replace it, but only if it increases the value of that spot. So right now we've got this 10 of clubs next to a jack of clubs, and both of them have 5, which is pretty high. So I cannot drag this 10 over here and replace that 10. It's not going to work. Alright. And if it does, that's an error in the game, and, well, there are a couple of them. It's a brand new game. I can, let's see, we can actually move this ace over here next to this 10, make that a group. That's pretty nice. Let's see if we've got any other potential for replacement. A good replacement we can do is actually moving this 7 over here and taking that one. Because they match the same suit, this 7 will go from 1 to 5. And jokers don't add any points or take any points, they're always 0, which means that they're very easy to replace. But they do add bonus points to whichever side owns it. Notice how it's owned by red, and red has 70 points over here. That's because it's getting a significant bonus from that joker. But if I move this 7 on top of that one, it will replace it. Notice that score value is now larger than what it used to be, and the 7 that got replaced goes into my hand. This is a great strategy because it allows you to acquire additional cards and therefore additional points. Just be careful not to get too many cards and have too many in your hand and deck at the end of the game. Alright, let's see if there's anything else I can do. So we've got the 5. That 5 is pretty good. I want to replace that. That 7, can't really do much with that. The 10 and the 8, those are all pretty set. I can actually go ahead and grab that joker back off the board by replacing it with an 8. Alright, so now the point value goes from 0 to 1. And also notice how this group contains cards from me and my opponent. I can move the whole one around. But, so that's how that works. Alright, next turn. I've got all these cards here. It looks like I've got the 2 of diamonds, and I can put that off of this ace of diamonds right here. Gain some points there, but my opponent also gained some significant points, so you have to be careful about that. Looks like I've got a king, and a jack, and an ace. We can go ahead and we can throw out the king and the ace. Alright. Actually, I could have done a little bit better there by replacing that ace with that ace before I put the king down. But now that they're on the board, they're kind of set, and there's not much I can do to change that. Okay, so I lost out on some points I could have made by not paying attention to what's on the board. Alright, I'm going to end my turn, and now it's player 2's turn. He can throw out this 3 next to that 2, gain some points for that. And let's see what else we got. That 7, can't do much with it because that 7 is going to have a higher value regardless. I do have this joker, which would let me do this. And it's good to play your jokers later in the game so that your opponent has less of an opportunity to replace them, because they are worth a significant number of points. Alright, I'm going to, actually I'm going to play a faster strategy, throw a few of these cards out, and then end the turn, because I'm lagging kind of behind on this side. Alright, so up next we've got our joker and our jacks. Let's go ahead and move these out of the way and put our jack here off of the 10, and then we can throw out this queen. Okay, and we can actually grab these guys and put them right there, and that finishes the group. Notice how we've got the symbols here showing the wraparound effect, where the 3 and the 4 points are applied to each other. Alright, that 4 gets 2 points. 1 because it's next to a 5, and 1 because it's next to that 3. The 3 gets 6 because the 2 over here matches suit, but the 4 doesn't match anything, not even color. Alright. Let's see what else I can do on my turn. I can put this 2 down over here next to this ace. I can also grab these 2 cards, use that 6 there, and use that 5 there. Alright, pretty effective. And I think I'll go ahead and throw the jack out to try to speed things up a bit. Alright, now for this player's turn, I've got a 4 of hearts. I can actually replace that 4 of spades there, because being next to those 2 red cards, it's going to increase the value, I think, to 4. Yes. Alright. Then we've got this 3 of spades. That can be played off this 2 effectively. Lots of points there. And this king of spades, I'm going to go ahead and put this king of spades off of the ace. We can wrap the value around that way too. Let's see, what else can we do? Let's put this 4 spades off of that 3. I got a 6 of hearts. Looks like I can improve this pretty much with that. Alright, again a 6 of spades. And that looks like I can't do much with it. Not right now. 8 of diamonds. Same situation. Alright, I'm going to end the turn. Actually, let's throw these out here. Help speed things along a bit. My turn here. Alright, our 5 of clubs. We can replace that 5 because this 6 is going to increase that card's value, that 5's value considerably. Yep. And that also increases this value too. And doesn't help this 4 very much, which is good. Alright, now let's see here. This 3 we can put off of this 2. This 10. We can grab the jack with that 10 actually. And then we can go ahead and do the 9 and the 8. Looks like we are making a recovery. And then this 5. Let's see here. I could have also used that 9 to replace that joker. That might have actually been a better move. But because that joker's worth a lot of points. Okay, but for now, I think we're pretty set. I'm going to throw the, let's throw the 5 out just to speed it up. Now it's the opponent's turn. He's got the 3 of hearts. He can't replace that 3 because it's not going to improve the situation. It's still going to be worth 7 points, I believe. Yep. Let's see if the 3 can go anywhere else. Not really. We got the queen of spades. We can put that queen off of that 10. And that's better than putting it off, or sorry, that queen off that king. Better than off that king because it's the same suit. And in this case, it gives only me points. Me, player 2. Alright. I am going to move this 8 over here off this 7. And then throw the 9 on that. And then let's see if I can do much with this 3. I don't see a lot that I can do with this 3. The 7 and the 9. I can go ahead and put the 9 off this 10. And I can actually use the 7 to grab that 6. Okay, and then this 3. I don't know. Let's just put it on the board in the turn. Alright, now for this guy's turn. Let's see here. We've got an 8. Looking around, that 8's not going to help us. That one. Let's see what happens when we do this. Alright, significant replacement. Nice suit match there. The 9 is a joker, so it doesn't add any points there. Let's see about the 9. I actually take that joker into our hand now with this 9. And now we've got a nice joker, and that's going to give us a lot of points here in a minute. We only have 1 card left in our deck, too. So we're getting really close to the end. If I just play a couple of cards here, that's going to be great for me and bad for my opponent. So I'm going to put the jack off of this queen, and then I'm going to see if I can do something with that 2. Yeah, we can use that 2 to grab this 3. Okay, that's a lot of points. And I'm going to my turn now because I'm going to draw my last card, and this guy's going to be in a bit of trouble. So, looks like, and I'm going to stay in trouble with him just because I want to show how that works. what happens when you have cards in your hand afterwards. So now it's my turn, player 1. Let's see what we can do. Alright. We can put this 5 off of this 4. We can put this king off of this queen. Looks like all these moves are helping my opponent. We can put this ace. I don't want to do that. Yeah, let's go ahead and do it anyway because we're going to get a lot of points from this joker. We're just going to put off this jack. Alright, that puts me up over 208, and I'm going to end my turn. Now, the next time my turn starts, the game's over, so player 2 has one turn to throw out a few cards. I'll put out the 4. Let's replace that ace right there with this one that matches suit, but that's going to help player 1 considerably. We're going to, let's see here, what am I going to do with this ace? Let's bump this over and put this ace next to that king. Can we do that? No, we can't. I'm putting it on the wrong side. My bad. I can put the ace on the other side of a joker. So let's throw out this joker here. Alright, looks like that's a mistake. The jokers are a little wonky in the game right now, so it's not perfect, but it's hopefully getting there soon. So I'll put the ace here off this 2, and then we'll do 4, 5, and 6. Notice that my score is going to be around 200 and what is it going to be? 224. So I'm going to end the turn. That's going to end the game. I lost some points here because I had 3 cards in my deck, and it looks like player 1 has won. Alright, so that's a pretty good run of how this game works. Have fun.